Audio up. So is this working at all? You might be on mute, Francis, if you're trying to speak.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, Jonas, I can hear you, not perfectly, but good enough. But I see your audio is still struggling. Yeah.
Andre should be joining in just a moment. Good to see you all, by the way.
I'm waiting for the day when we have more AI note takers in meetings than we do people. And I
I'll
think that day is not too far off. Yeah.
I've had it happen in the past.
Hi there.
Hey, Andre. Thank you for making the Electro meet. We at some point will need to sit down this week and get that worked out. I think the DSci Labs versus Electris is it needs to be a little bit much.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So, my request for record this meeting.
of course. Um, allow recording. Cool.
Okay, thank you.
And
This meeting
recording
is being recorded.
cloud. And hello, everyone. So myself, Francis, Jonas, Andre. And I think Lucas is not going to be able to make it today. I talked to Sergio. I don't think he's going to be joining either. So I think that this may be quorum for this particular call. But it is Tuesday, June 4th. And we have an agenda to go over. But before we get into it, I wanted to see if anyone has anything that they want to add last minute to quickly talk about before we go through some of the established points. And let me go ahead and share my screen with the notes document because I think that would be very helpful.
No, I don't have anything to add for now because now the presentation for AMEST conference is probably the main thing.
Okay. Francis or Jonas, anything that you want to put on here?
No, I'm an AI note taker at the moment. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I can think of nothing at the moment.
Got it. The main thing that I wanted to talk about today was some of the governance work that is just now spinning up. Andre, you had MS and all of the conference stuff there. Then I think some of the not Cora, CoData, too many co-related organizations for blog post publishing was another point that we wanted to cover. And perspectives on group dissemination. Andre, what was this point specifically?
Yeah. So if no one has anything to add, maybe we would start with the first point. Or do you? Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so for the AMEST conference, we have our kind colleagues from Poland and from Italy. They would agree to present the paper. So we need a presentation. I think because but the notes are in the agenda. I will now drop the link to the chat.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, here they are.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and here is a paper. I think the most convenient way to make a presentation is to take the existing presentation from the Venice conference and then to change it.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yes, because
Content
it's
not drastically different between the two, right?
there is no drastic difference, and almost everything that should be said, we have already said in Venice, except the, let's say, the relations between DPID and industrial automation, which is already explained in the paper. But it's unlikely that I would have enough time to prepare the presentation before this weekend. But our colleagues are asking us to prepare the presentation before this weekend because they should also study the uh, presenter notes.
So just to make sure I see it, would it be dissemination?
No, it's conference proposals.
Okay.
Conference proposals accepted. The draft presentation in DataSys Congress.
Okay.
Yeah, we can just copy it into AFC Amest.
Is it this one?
Yes, it is this one.
Okay.
That's a different list of authors and different and a bit of different points.
If you want to, you can always take whatever you fancy from my presentation as well.
I guess it would be really a good, at least a good template. But anyhow, I need an assistance. Unlikely by the end of the week, I will, before the end of this week, I will have a time.
Okay. In Sweden, it's National Day Thursday, so we don't work Thursday, Friday.
So would you be able to help a bit?
I can do that.
If it would be really great and very, very high appreciation from me, and I guess from every one of us.
Thank you, Jonas.
Yeah, because this conference, as it is organized by, let's say, the industrial stakeholders, it is even more prestigious than the Venetian one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because just let me speak honestly. I received a message from my friend who is let's say, connected with the organizers. She is a professor in the University of Cassino, and the Polish woman who wanted to present our paper is also her friend. So, and they are all, let's say, the professors of the highest level. So I think it's the best way here is to do our best to make us known by these people
So,
because they were.
how did you
So
get to agree to give the presentation?
how once more, please?
How did you get them to agree to give the presentation?
I did actually nothing. I just sent a call to the organizers, and my friend somehow convinced his Polish friend to present because this Polish woman is doing particularly not the same but the similar things, the swarm technologies.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And she's familiar with IPFS. She understands.
I guess she's
That's it.
familiar with more or less with the decentralized technologies, but she's not literally familiar with IPFS, especially. Most of these people are familiar with high-end robotics, manipulation technologies, industrial automation of high-end level. So it's controllers, motion trackers, let's say information exchange systems, SCADA, real-time systems, and particularly applied mechanics. But let's say probably the best brains we could find.
Sounds like a fascinating field.
It is. It is.
Okay, cool. Well, Jonas, thank you for volunteering to help. We are in the Mattermost if you need us.
Yeah.
But hopefully between these two links and then the link to your presentation, there should be enough for them to talk on.
Well, I guess so.
You have the link to my presentation, I hope.
Yes, it's somewhere here, but I'm having problems finding it in the actual drive. Where is it at? Is
Yeah, that's a good question.
it?
Should be in talks, I guess.
Okay. It's not dissemination. Overview documentation, proposal, grant.
Oh, it's didn't I? Maybe I never copied it over. It might be still in my home.
Maybe. I was having some problems finding.
I did once a copy for sure, so let me try to find it.
Oh, hey, Sergio. Alrighty. That's okay.
Okay.
If someone has it, would they mind adding it to the notes?
Yeah, it's called DPID a presentation.
Okay.
I open a window.
Okay.
Is it that one? Oh, okay. Here we go.
Did you find it?
Yes. So let me
Yes, me too.
Yes, you did.
here.
Is that the latest one?
Yes.
Good.
Alrighty.
Yeah, good.
Alrighty. Then, is there anything else that we need to talk about with respect to this point?
Well, about the perspectives, I was just, let's say, a bit of philosophic things. I have read the article about, let's say, about thinking about how the people are recognizing us
Mhm.
and the initiative we have. So, and I was wondering, what do you think about what does it mean being decentralized? I think it's like the people may understand that it would mean, let's say, pointless or controlless. Not in terms of let's say absence of governance, but in terms of absence of control at all.
So
So
take a quick
it's
step back. What was the article that you were reading?
it was an article about let's say the friendly behavior in let's say the social psychology.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't remember the exact DOI or link, so I was just put it in on my screen by chance. And then I was starting thinking about maybe we would be recognized as a somehow chaotic initiative instead of being, let's say, promoting freedom. Would we be recognized as the, let's say, the people promoting the chaotic behavior? Yes, it's an illusion, but I'm wondering, what do you see? May it work or not?
Is the question philosophical in relation to my thoughts, or is it targeted more at the direction of the group, more so PR and marketing, where we should?
Direction of our PR and marketing strategy, I guess.
If I understand correctly, you were wondering if by having the approach we have, we are perceived as promoting chaos instead of promoting freedom.
It's
Or
about, yes, it's about how it would be recognized by the people and especially the stakeholders that are dealing with us. So Imagine, for example, someone trying to understand how IPFS works.
Mhm.
And when it comes to the website and seeing that it's somehow similar to BitTorrent, saying, okay, why these pirates are doing and promoting this initiative, what they are trying to do. It's
Yeah,
yeah, it's a
I understand where you're going and what you're asking with respect to that. Um, I think my take there is that it takes time for emerging technologies to emerge. And a lot of P2P networking has been around for quite some time, but is starting to become more of a topic of conversation, given the swing that we've had in the digital domain towards centralization itself with large technology providers. This concept of a dispersion of power is something that people have been working towards for the better part of a decade, if not even since the beginning of the internet itself. And with most emerging technologies, they find their start with vice more so than virtue. The early origins of the internet were not necessarily the most savory things on the planet, tended to start out with people on forums having wonderful conversations, and then the 90s hit and it devolved into less than savory things and eventually came back around to something a little more sustainable. Um, I think ultimately you look at the swings between centralization and decentralization not as a binary, but as a pendulum. We're a little too far centralized at the moment. And it's a correction, which may be an overcorrection, but the pendulum will slowly incur friction and calm down into something that's hopefully a balance between efficiency and the needs of end users and individuals themselves. That's a really long-winded answer of saying that it depends. In terms of PR and marketing, I think what's really important is automation. So it's the idea that decentralized systems tend to be more efficient at large scales. So typically what you would have is something that's centralized being absolutely the best way to go if we're talking about, you know, a million PIDs, 10 million PIDs. But as you get into the trillions, possibly the quadrillions, the idea that a single entity can manage those efficiently is naive and dangerous. So I think it's more so harping on automation and scalability as opposed to order versus chaos. It's not a question of will this be chaotic? It's a question of is it even possible in a centralized fashion? Which to me, the answer is no.
yeah, it's let's say literally a good thing to say also to our, let's say, stakeholders and customers, because what I have discovered from even from my friends and colleagues who works also with me at Eletra, that the people are more let's say willing to feel protected than to feel, let's say, sustainable. Because yeah, again, I consider this as mostly an illusion, but we cannot put this illusion out of the context of what we are doing.
You
So,
went deep into philosophy. I love it.
yeah, I think we're deep into politics.
And yeah, politics and policies are also, let's say, always would be probably the headache for us. But what I want really to say that it could be a sewed topic together with a statement of benefits we would try to create the next blog post about.
Yeah, I'd like to, if I could say something.
Yeah.
I agree with what Eric said, but the drive towards centralization or authoritarianism doesn't necessarily give consideration to efficacy or efficiency or utility. That's not their interest. And so, as you say, it's dangerous. And it's a very, very dangerous drive, not just in a digital sense, but also in a human sense. I think the idea of identity itself, not just the PIDs, be philosophical for a moment, but the idea of identity is extremely important. 10 years ago, you could go on almost any news site and comment on the news anonymously. Now it's impossible to do it anywhere. The identity is, it's amazing the amount of identity that's wanted from us and taken from us, whether we're out walking on the street, driving our car, or going through an airport. It's just amazing. Or getting a SIM card. You used to be able to buy SIM cards in 7-Elevens all over the world, and now I have to get my picture taken 20 times to get fingerprinted to get a SIM card. So I think that, and I think the DPIDs are really important in this decentralized structure here. I also think it's important for science, for education too. So it is a philosophical topic. And I did want to put Koara back on the agenda today. I was a bit hesitant to do that, but I wanted to get back to Koara a little bit with you. And also, I think another thing we should connect DPIDs to is open science. I'm sure you've already doing that, but we should also make that explicit. I think it's a political coloring that we give to things, and I don't like politics normally, except to get angry at it. But for the rest, I don't really like it so much. But I think that we need to push the open science envelope, because it's a very small, it's a very weak, it's a very tiny place in the world today, and it will always stay that way. But it's still worth pushing at. And just to round off my thing is, what I'd really like to see you guys do, not me, but to write a blog on the relationship between DPIDs and research assessment. Because when we change research assessment, which will happen, because it has to happen. It's not because we want it to, it just has to. But when research assessment changes, it will change how we do science, and it will change how we do education, as well as it will shape our digital world.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense, because once we have again let's say mostly the political relationship between the research assessment as it is established right now, then it amplifies the problems. But the thing is how to convince, again, the stakeholders to, let's say, throw this new concept of identity. And this requires a lot of time.
So the idea, I think, for us is what you're doing. Now, I can't do this, but what you guys are doing is we have tools. We have digital tools, which include systems, tools, APIs, and so forth. And we can use those to do good things, and we can use those to do, let's say, selfish things. So we have to push the good. Probably there's only a tiny place in the world for it, but we should push the good. And when we use technology for ends that are for the good, then we're doing something worthwhile. And the only tools we have at hand today are digital tools. They're the only real tools out there.
That reminded me of a talk I had a couple of years ago with some researchers from Africa. And when you think open science, you think perhaps sharing data, doing calculations in another country or something like that. And they told us that if you come up with something that is new but different than what your supervisor have said before, then you won't ever be able to publish it in their own country. And being able to do research abroad just digitally is very, very important, because they can do research that isn't allowed otherwise because of prestige within their scientific community. So in a way, when we are promoting that, we are also promoting much more science, and in a way better science. But I think,
yeah, sorry to interrupt, but this is where this is coming from too, really, because I spent last week writing a proposal for the International Science Council on open science in Africa. I mean, with Africans.
Yes.
And their problem, they want the open science, but they don't know how to get there. Because, what you say, also they're afraid that they won't get credit for the research. Everybody feels that way about it. That they'll be doing work for other people, and that nobody will fund it, which is true. All real concerns. And it's the way out of the digital pathway is the way out of Africa. And by the way, these people are good. They're super good too.
Yes,
I mean, they're really good. So I think that, but it's not just Africa. It's us too here in Belgium or wherever you are and whatever. We all have this, we thought in the 90s, like, oh, the internet's going to be this great hippie place and we can have freedom and escape and everything. And sometimes it's more of a jail than a party ground. But that's why I think, but we should focus on really like small things that work, like we should just make some things that work. That's why I'm here with you guys, because I can't do that. All I can do is sit on Zoom. Yeah. But we have like a huge consortium in Africa too, huge, with that has connections and everything. So and they will get this. They will get this idea because they get the idea of freedom. Everybody gets the idea of freedom. Everybody understands what freedom is. And I think it's like Andre said, it's some people are afraid of that word. For some reason, they're afraid of it. If they watch the news every day, they will be afraid of it.
I think there's
slightly provocative question here. So I'm a big believer that climate change is going to cause problems in the world, and that we're at a point now where we probably can't stop the worst of it from happening. The inertia behind anything green just isn't quite there. So if we look towards a world that's probably not as prosperous, probably not as peaceful, probably not the one that all of us have grown up in, is it a good thing to have a complete and total dispersion of power versus something that's a little more centralized?
Well, who do you trust?
I think that is
our
the
centralized powers are now. Talk about climate change. The greatest climate disaster ever was the blowing up of the Nord Stream pipeline, and nobody will even speak about it. The greatest climate disasters are taking place every day in Ukraine with bombings, people sending bombs.
We do talk about the blowing up in Sweden.
Yeah.
Just to mention it.
Yeah, so nice that Sweden joined NATO. What a remarkable adventure. or what's going on in Gaza. If you talk about climate disaster, I mean, disasters for the climate, these are the real things. I was in a meeting before this with the Pistoia Alliance, and I was in a meeting yesterday with UNESCO, and both were talking about LLMs, and they were saying, "Oh, LLMs are so terrible because they use so much energy." But the solution is already there. We have the new light chips from China that reuse a fraction of the energy. So, but I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's politics, but it's election season too everywhere in the world. But I don't see. No, I have more faith in my neighbor than I do in the guy sitting in City Hall. My view.
The thing is also that I would highlight, the thing is when the more control you would have around anything, for example, internet in Russia, the more you will be afraid of that someone would take your control despite you would do anything bad or not. And this is why, well, I was speaking with some friends, also scientists, about, let's say, it was about Nexus library. You know, it's decentralized, totally the first probably decentralized library project in the internet. And once it comes to the copying their own materials there, it always comes to, let's say, who would have a control over the assessment and who would prevent the people that could try put disinformation about this. This is what I wanted to say about why the people are wanting to feel themselves protected.
Mm.
Yeah, and this is in terms of research assessment. It's let's say one of the probably the worst illusions we have. When we have a centralized control, then the people are stopping afraid of, but they are yielding their own protection instead of yielding assessment. And this is probably, I don't know if it is true or not, but I want to let it be said.
Curation and moderation is a very tricky problem in a
Yes.
decentralized. I've watched a number of companies try different angles. Some work, some don't. I think one of the ones that's more interesting to me is a decentralized project called Library. They have had some interesting curation mechanisms go through there. So if the group's interested, I might see if I can find some content around that and send it around. But I mean, ultimately, what you get to is it's small atomic signals of trust. So it's the idea that on Twitter, if you have one like on a post, if you have 7,000 likes on a post, if you have 0 comments versus 200, if you have retweets, first off, just the volume showcases interest. Then as you go into each of those different points, you look at who liked the post. Is it a person with a monkey picture avatar, or is it a tenured professor kind of thing? What do the comments say? They say, yes, I agree with this take, or your brain is embarrassing and you should be embarrassed of yourself. Then that's going to be a signal as to whether or not you should believe the information in said tweet. And ultimately, that really is the only means of, I guess, filtering that's shown to have worked. And that's Facebook, that's Reddit, that's Twitter, that's every platform. I mean, ultimately, as we think about the dissemination of information in a digital medium, it comes down to social media. That's basically what we've got at this point. So there's a lot to be said for that. But if we think of the larger scientific record, we need to be able to capture all of that, because ultimately we can't say what's true and false anymore. I don't know if y'all have had the chance to play around with Sora, the new video generation engine from OpenAI. I can't tell the difference between that and between real life. Um, as this stuff gets better and better and better, disseminating between real and false is going to become harder and harder. And it's just a question of putting the right symbols, or not the right symbols, the right structure in place to hopefully try and disambiguate. But yeah, I'm with you, Andre. I think the chaos is inevitable. It's just a question of whether or not we're willing to put in structure to embrace it, would be my take.
And I think, Eric, what you said about the pendulum is exactly right. You know, any cursory look at history is probably all I could give, but any cursory look at history is going to tell you that the pendulum swings and it doesn't stop swinging. And all we can do is help it move in one direction and put a little friction in the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to move. It's going to move. Nobody's going to stop it. But I think the other thing I wanted to point out is, you know, if you look at, not that it's necessarily the right place to look, but if you look at the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, I think it's Article 25 where science is mentioned. It's only just mentioned once, but it's not a right to knowledge. Nobody has a right to knowledge. Nobody has a right to access truth even. What the right is there is the right is to participate in science. And as Jonas says, that's exactly what the Africans are asking for, people who are outside, like say myself, outside science. We want to participate. That's all. We just want to participate, or like we want to participate in education or in the cultural life of the world. That's what the rights say. And I think that's right. That's a correct way of looking at it. We thinking that we are going to settle on questions of truth and knowledge in science, then we have very short memories or oversight of the evolution of science. You know, it's participating. It's participating. And this is what the deep hits give us as well. Sorry, I'll stop.
No, I think it was a terrible joke. Please, sorry.
Well, what I really wanted to say that it's what we should at first should think about, and then what should be discussed in the blog. I think together with statement of benefits, it would be what the people would read about us.
I think what you should discuss in the blog is how DPIDs could help us do research assessment.
Yeah.
That's what you should, I mean, no, it should be, we shouldn't do this philosophy stuff. Anybody can do that in the street corner.
Yes, and it should be also, let's say, the philosophical summary of the statement of benefits. That could be a good idea.
Yeah.
Jonas,
And I would put it into the context of open science too. I mean, that's a political context because
So
it's only a
Jonas,
political context.
Yeah.
The reality are these tools and things like that. Those are the realities. Yeah.
Do you want us to stop?
I just wanted to say something. It was, there was no real hurry, but the thing is that I think we are potentially having a lot of customers that are at very different places, and that means that we both have people who want to participate, who want to join, who want to be connected, and DPIDs can definitely help with that. But we also have people who would like to not care. I mean, the people who today just get a DOI whenever they publish, people who just uses the system and just press the button, don't think about it. And then we have the third party. I don't think there are that many in our community, but we do have people who, since they don't know the process about how the data or the information gets to them, they distrust it in a way that you can get conspiracy theories and stuff like that, because you don't trust those 200 likes on your social media. You don't know how they got there, so you don't think they are 200. You think they must be 2 million, and that is also something that openness and transparency in how these things work we need to think about. Also, people will be afraid of adopting to things they don't understand.
Yeah. Yes, it's probably that's the second strongest argument. And please, just let me give just a simplest example about this and research assessment. Please let me share my screen.
Let me
Yeah,
stop.
thank you.
Mhm.
So, could you see it? It is one of my last papers I've published, and it has 37 reads on ResearchGate. Only 37, and it's normal because just a paper of application of some known technologies to the new robotics. The second paper I will show, it was written, let's say, out of an experience, so it's not even an application, it's an overview. It's a survey. And when some people from Saudi Arabia discovered that this paper was published, they ran the bots. Now you can see more than 6,000 officially reads. So these are the unique users of ResearchGate. And I am now wondering, how would I trust the research assessment did quantitatively over the portals like ResearchGate? Because even now, every week, I have received 200 of new reads. Just because of that. Because some people are running the bots and they are in need of citations.
I mean,
Yeah, Eric, please go ahead.
yeah. No, honestly, part of the answer is you can't. I think that one's fairly evident. It's not a question of presenting metrics. It's a question of presenting data in a way that others can make metrics. It's the idea that there is no one singular metric to rule them all, but that by presenting in as truthful of a fashion as possible, with as much context and as much provenance as possible, that presenting the data itself so that people can form their own opinions, do their own analyses, and you can have this Darwinistic evolution of metrics that hopefully evolve to a singular point, which is the best suited for a given environment, will happen over time. But the most important part there is providing data in a findable and accessible fashion. And we don't do that at the moment. So it's not to say that what ResearchGate has done is bad. It's just to say that the fact ResearchGate only has the one way of doing it is bad. Sorry, Francis, yeah.
No. I always interrupt. I apologize. Eric, it's not only, let's say, doing the correct measurements. It's also what we measure. So I have the impression that when we're measuring things like impact factor, we're not doing too much different than measuring the number of likes that we get on X or LinkedIn or something like that. Because it's all a bit incestuous. It's how many people read your paper, how many people cited your paper. Did your paper do anything in the world? I mean, Dr. Fauci writes a paper with his colleagues and publishes it in The Lancet on vaccines and the coronavirus, and it gets millions and millions of views. He has the highest impact factor you can imagine. Or Bill Gates writes something and publishes it in the New England Journal of Medicine because he pays for it, and he gets high impact factor. Does it have any impact in the world, though? Does it have real value? So there is a fundamental question here with regard to value. And I mean, that's why we also put integrity and ethics into our description, because it seems inescapable. And I don't agree with all the Quora people in the steering board and so forth who say they want to get rid of metrics, because no, I want to go to the best university possible and I want to read the best papers that are out there. So I want to know, I want measurements, but against what do we measure?
So can I pose a slightly different perspective on that one? I was talking to a meta scientist a couple months ago, not too long, and one of the things that came up in our conversation was this idea of completely getting rid of metrics. And his point was that let's take the example of someone getting tenure. Ultimately, the process for you getting tenure, given how competitive it is kind of random in the first place. If you're a PhD student and your very first experiment gives you significant results, honestly, to a certain extent, it's luck of the draw. It's not a question that you were smarter than the person sitting next to you. Way more likely that Mother Nature just said, yes, this is an interesting hypothesis, and here's something cool from it. So to a certain extent, you get that, let's say, early career success that then compounds upon itself because you got a good publication, it's a good impact factor. All of a sudden, funders are interested. You have more money to pursue more questions to get a higher impact factor. So isn't it just chance anyway? How can you legitimately say that one person's research is more impactful, more interesting, more anything than anyone else's?
It's like evolution.
Could a coin flip be used to determine tenure, a random number generator?
Yes, you can probably just say that afterwards if you have seen what, if no one actually remembers the paper, it might not have been that impactful in like 2,000 years. But you have to wait a long time in order to actually say for certain that something was more impactful than something else. So
yeah, but it's a bit more complicated. That's a fair question. I'll take it away. And you're going to apply this to what I say now too. But it's not only that, it's also what we study, what we research. And that's determined today, I think, you can tell me differently, by the funders. Mm-hmm. So what Brussels says, we want to have research on research integrity, we'll get research on research integrity. If they say they want research on balloons, we'll get research on balloons. So they will determine that. And I think in that kind of determination is a certain sense of value. And I even think, and I'll go back to take away some of the things I said before about government or something, but I even think there's a legitimacy in people or in society saying to science, we would like this researched and we don't want this researched, or we want less of this and more of that, or something like that. And I don't think, because I would say I do science, but I don't, but because you do science, you should have more freedom than I do. That's not necessarily the case. You know, somebody who gets up in the morning and has to go out and cut grass for a living, they don't get to decide whose house they're cutting the grass at or something like that. So we should. So value is measured in different ways, I think. in the research context, in the science context.
Or maybe the expert grass cutter should be able to choose which customer to go to first.
But yeah, but the poor guy wants to get paid too.
They could say no, but they can't necessarily pick every single person that they say yes or
Yeah,
no.
I think that there's also a flaw in how we pay certain jobs, but that is beside the point.
My wife has been telling me that for years. Okay,
Yeah. But
okay.
what we are talking about is the predictive power of the research assessment here, so that you can be more certain that this is good science just from looking at some assortment of metrics. Because
Well,
truly knowing what is impactful is impossible.
Right.
So but then again, doing a prediction it's not impossible, but it's impossible to know that it's true.
It's impossible to validate until you will wait for a time for which you are
Yep.
predicting for. But there it should be even more time passing after you will discover that there how much the random factor inside.
Yeah, I read an article about the randomness, and it was about people applying for a job as an astronaut, and that's highly sought after, and everyone was. I think they had 11 seats, and there were over 1,000 applicants, and they took into account everything, and they selected 11, and then someone made a simulation of this, where he put whether or not your day was good, whether you felt good or had slept well, or just random, and he put that to I think maybe 0.1% of the score. So it's negligible,
Negligible.
negligible. Hard word. It's omittable, and you can, but you could see from his results that when he simulated the same set with or without this negligible little 0.1%, he got 9 out of those 11 were completely different people. So only 2 out of 11 were the same from time to time, even though they had fixed scores. So in a really competitive environment, like if you're doing, I don't know, track and field or some sports, it's mainly up to luck. It may be luck of the genetic lottery, maybe luck on your upbringing, but it's mainly luck because everyone is doing their best, and you can do the absolute best you can, and you can still be just outside of qualifying for the Olympics. You're still probably one of the 50 fastest people in the world, but that's it. You will never get anything out of it.
Yeah. Then the thing is the thing here is to not to eliminate the random factor, but just amplify the non-random factor as strong as we have. As we
So
have to
there's
do.
another thing that kind of plays into this, which I think is very interesting. It's the perspective between an individual researcher and a funder. So I completely agree with you that to an individual researcher, this randomness is the absolute most important thing to an individual track and field star. But if you're a funder, if you are the Olympic selection committee, what you're trying to find is the group that's going to win in the aggregate. You're looking for the most gold medals for your country. You're looking for the most impact from this entire field of research, from all fields of research, quite frankly. And there is a certain Bayesian aspect to the randomness that can be applied. So one of the better examples that I've heard of all of this is the idea that, we have specific fields that we overfund and specific fields that we underfund. One of my favorite, I think, go-to examples is women's health. For reasons that may or may not be apparent to a lot of folks in academia, over the past 50 years, we've put a lot more funding into men's health than we have into women's. There's a lot of untapped potential in that particular field. And if we were to put money into it, a case has been made to me, which seems logical. We could get more utility for humanity as a whole. Whereas if we were to continue funding, let's say, Alzheimer's research, that's kind of the go-to boogeyman at this point. The existing structures, the amount of money that's been poured into the field, and just the general difficulty of trying to find information at this point might make it difficult. So I think from a funder's perspective versus from a researcher's perspective, there's a different definition of impact. It's what's best for a scientist versus what's best for science. So I would love to hear y'all's take on that, but also we are 3 minutes out from the end of the call. This has been lovely, by the way. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. Anyway, yeah, I'm done ranting on that one.
Just very shortly, if you guys think you want to do something for Barcelona, for the Barcelona declaration, and go to Paris or something. Yeah, well, I would like to do something with the. I'd like to get this digital aspect of research assessment off the ground. That's not true. I would like you to get it off the ground. Yeah.
Are they offering sponsorship for travel?
No.
Okay.
No.
I might be able to get someone from my team to go, but I don't know if I'll specifically be able to.
Yeah, and it's in September. Okay, yeah. Yeah. I'm not too far away by train, so that's easier for me. But I don't care who goes. You guys will do it better than me.
I'm across an ocean. Andre has visa. Actually, Andre, will you be through the visa restrictions by September?
Yes, still, because only this Monday I had my fingerprints placed on the table of the Trieste Questor. So probably it should pass another 4 months before I will obtain my stay permit.
June, July, barely. Okay.
Yes,
I
barely,
wanted to.
but I don't think that I would have a valid one before the end of September. It's unlikely because actually no one works in Italy during the end of July and August.
So you're 2025. Okay. It would be amazing for someone to go. Yeah, Jonas?
Yeah, I had one comment before we leave the idea of metrics and assessments. And we could do like evolution did and start with a bunch of everything and then see what gets used. And the things that aren't used, we just drop. Then we could see which parts have the most predictive power in terms of research assessment. But it will take years, but we could do it that way.
If we could get a meaningful backlog of data for people to do analytics on, I do actually have faith that an open competition for predictive analytics on longer term impact actually could be meaningful. But you're right, it would take a long time.
And I've seen the concern I've seen from talking about DPIDs is that people are afraid of other people making DPIDs for everything. Every word will have a DPID. Every sentence, every exclamation mark. Just, I don't know. But that was one, I've heard that concern twice now, so I thought I'd repeat it.
Why is that a fear? Anyone who's ridiculous enough to do that is just going to be saddled with a bunch of PIDs that no one ever uses.
Yeah, that's what I said too. But it sort of spun into the fear of things you don't understand how they work.
Mm.
And I think the fear was that it since I have a client on my computer, it will fill up my computer with billions or trillions of DPIDs that no one ever uses.
Gotcha. That makes sense. All of this is going to be sharded, by the way. But no, it's an interesting take. I think there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt behind that. I don't necessarily see any huge benefit in someone spamming the system in that sense, but it may be something. I know IPFS has a blacklist principle that nodes in the network can propagate. Andre, if I'm not mistaken, there is an IPFS blacklist for CIDs that are known to be malicious. Given the unique and hashes, they can essentially say this one is connected to something obscene, and really that was not the time for balloon zoom.
No, it's well, it's about mostly the gateways.
Okay, it's gateways that they blacklist.
Yeah, gateways, because even me experienced a lot of problems with declaring my experimental gateway as malicious. But it was not actually most of the people are afraid of spam and phishing, and most of the stakeholders present themselves being afraid of piracy. Because one of my Australian acquaintance sent to me the message that in Australia BitTorrent is hardly banned. Even having the client on your computer, you could be under the prosecution, just because they have declared that every kind of property should be protected, and some stakeholders are really afraid of. So this is, let's say, in my vision and my terms, it makes no sense. It's an illusion. But the illusions that people are afraid more of than the real things. So this is why I am speaking about the RDA blog post, because it's a chance to make the people stay less afraid.
What is the RDA blog post?
Not RDA, just the blog, the next blog post.
Oh, yeah.
So it's about freedom, or freedom from fear?
Freedom from fear at first.
The best cure for fear of having things stolen from you is to have things stolen from you. It's the most amazing cure in the world. You know, I've had my computer stolen. I've had thousands and thousands of euros stolen. It just cures you. It just cures you. Anyway,
well,
what I want to say is this:
to let go.
What I think we need also for the research evaluation is we need some small LLM programs, and they don't have to be big, with some ontologies. And then eventually we need to connect those to supercomputers that can crawl through all this scientific literature and make sense out of it. And I think it's almost no big deal to do. I think the hardest part will be the ontologies, but the LLMs are there. The supercomputers are there. We won't get access immediately to everything that's published, but we get access to a lot. And the more we get access to, the more we will get access to in the future then. And that's the very first thing we can do is we can use these tools to evaluate what science is out there in any particular field or any particular subject domain, whatever, and to evaluate it against itself, and then turn it over to humans in a puffable, manageable format. It won't be perfect. That's always the argument these ethicists have against AI. It's not perfect. It makes mistakes. Can you believe how many times I hear people say, "Oh, but it makes mistakes"? I say, "Oh, well, I don't," you know. So, but I think that's what we need, and then the DPIDs will come into them to their own real value then, because they'll be linked to the ontologies.
Yeah. Well, I completely agree with this. And also, after studying a bit the principles of working for the project called IRO, this one, I will
I
send the
hear
link.
Yes.
about that versus IPFS at some point. It doesn't have to be today.
Is it time to finish?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
we're out of time. And yeah, again, I wanted to ask to say thank you to all for connecting to this meeting. And let's very fast go for the another point in our agenda. It's about the blog post. So, Francis, do you have any news from CodeData? Because I've sent to Simon.
Yeah, and I
the
was
link.
supposed to review it together with Christina, and I didn't do it, but I will do it today or tomorrow. Not today, but I'll do it very soon. I
Okay,
have to travel
okay, thank you
tomorrow
very
and the
much.
next day. But I will do it because I read it already. So, but I do have to review it. That's the correct thing to do. And Christina will probably do it after I do it. She's not going to be proactive on it. But
Okay.
yeah, we'll get it done. And then really once we say yes, then it will go on the CodeData site very soon, because they're very efficient with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not with everything, but with that, they'll be efficient. Does anybody know what's going on with the RDA website?
nope.
No clue, no clue. That the thing is, probably they are using the self-coded engine, and this engine just doesn't work properly, because I saw that the database is in place and the website is somehow working, but I don't know why they didn't even do the good authentication system.
I can't tell. They worked on that for like 2 years before they launched it. Can't believe it.
I have no clue. I have no clue. In the Expanse project, we have no access, and I know nothing
Yeah.
about how they are working.
Yeah. No, I'll get the blog done, Andre. I will get it done. Yeah.
If it is possible, it would be probably the best opportunity we could have.
Yeah. I think it's good for CodeData too, and I think it's good for the group. Yeah. But if you guys would do a blog, and you know what, you could do the blog, and then we could do the thing for Barcelona at the same time.
And also there is
In Paris.
yeah, I have a small project of involving an AI in, let's say, somehow do an audio and audio summaries from the texts. Now it is in alpha testing stage, but probably we could do something even with this.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, but
Just
it's
whisper like whisper kind of thing.
not even whisper. It's like let's say the text-to-speech engine, but of a very high quality.
Oh, let me know how it
Yeah,
goes.
and a phonimizing engine. So it would be really an audio summary, and it could be, but now it's an alpha testing stage. If I would somehow have any success from this project here at Elettra, I will let you know.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, because it's part of our pipelines, anyhow.
That's all I have to think about.
Well, this has been a very fun call today. Thank you to everyone for joining. Thank you for staying over. And I think we're probably done at the moment, but if I'll give a last little bit of time for anyone else with thoughts or comments or questions, considerations.
No, I will
Final
share.
remarks?
Yeah, I will share video and audio as soon as possible.
Yeah. The presentation that you wanted to help with, I only works today and tomorrow. So
Uh,
we should start with that.
I think if it is possible, yes. So do you want me to make a copy in the Amest folder of your presentation and the presentation of conference from Venice?
You can take whatever you want from it. It's probably, I mean, I have a copy on my own, so
Okay.
you can use that. You can delete it if you want.
Because today and tomorrow for sure I will not have a time to start working over it.
Okay. Yeah. Let me know if you need anything. I can probably.
If you can, you can start. You can start even by your own from any template you have.
Send me a link to your original, because I think I lost it.
Okay.
The presentation you showed earlier here.
Sick.
You can put it in Mattermost. It doesn't have to be now.
Yeah, okay. I will send it to you. And also mention you in the conferences channel so you will see it.
Yeah, good.
So does anyone else have something to add? Okay, again, thank you very much.
Yep.
Have a nice,
Thank you.
have a
Bye.
nice evening. Bye.